Councilor Donnelly, Councilor Bezal, also present Councilor Clark. Mayor DiNatale is here, as well as City Auditor Calvin Brooks. We will start first, councilors, if there are no objections, I'm going to pull out of order 14317, involving that there being hereby is appropriated the sum of $200,197, same to be charged against available funds, and credited to the following fiscal year 2017 personal services accounts. Who will be speaking on this?
This is for the...
Police contracts?
Oh, okay, we're up?
Yeah, I'm moving it up.
You're moving it up?
Yep.
We'll do it. Good evening, councilors. Happy Tuesday. For the record, my name is A.J. Cherigny, Chief of Staff to Mayor DiNatale, and with me this evening is Chief Martineau and Captain Giannini. Councilors, I provided to you last week for your review the MOA for the police contract between the Fitchburg Police Union and the City of Fitchburg. Does anyone need that document? Again, I have some extra copies. All set. Okay. Hold on one second. I'm going to pull it out for myself here. All right, I would like to, on behalf of Mayor DiNatale, myself, the chief, and captain, and certainly our HR department, I'd like to thank the president of the union, Mr. Dan Bellafato, the executive board, and certainly the union members themselves for their professionalism during the duration of this contract. It was a one-year contract, one-year negotiation, actually, that we took. We closed it out last month. I'm here to answer any questions. I can certainly run through the MOA if you'd like. I know you've spent a week going through it, so I'm at your discretion.
Can you touch upon, please, the highlights of any changes so the public can...
Yep, absolutely.
Please.
Absolutely. There was previously a cell phone stipend that has been removed from the contract, which was turned into the base of the police officer. There was a creation of a limited injured on duty policy between the union and the chief. There was also, we created an ambulatory status line item within the contract. There was a reduction in sick leave personal days. There was an elimination of wage parity paragraph within the contract. We adjusted the extra pay details to reflect a reduction for municipal work that the police officer is running the detail for. And we also, there was a reduction in, there was a fitness equipment stipend that is paid to the union that's been with a $10,000 savings for the next 4 years because we did replace their equipment after a water main break. There's increases for a COLA for FY16, 17, and 18 at 2%. There's a specialty pay for from $25 to $30 for those officers that are training younger or junior officers. There's an education incentive for officers that are hired after October of 2010 that are not receiving the Quinn bill, and after 6 years of service, and after 6 years of service for junior officers only, or hired after October 2010 and 6 years of service, there's an increase of sick leave personal days.
The fitness stipend?
That's correct, Councilor.
What is that again?
Yep. And within the contract, there was the police union receives a $2,500 stipend from the from the city every year to go towards their fitness equipment that's in the police department. In 2000, go ahead, Chief.
Sure. That was negotiated in the previous contract where the city submitted $2,500 annually for the police union for the betterment of their gym at the police station. We went through a major renovation project where the gym was getting leaked on, and thousands of dollars of equipment was damaged. And last year we were able to fund some of that equipment at the savings at the end of the year, and thus we were able to negotiate holding off on that $2,500 stipend for the next 4 years.
So we were paying essentially to subsidize that equipment because they were paying it on their own. We were reimbursing them, basically.
The city of Fitchburg was paying $2,500 a year for the upkeep of the fitness room.
Now that
at
we've
the police.
renovated it, we don't have to do that upkeep.
We renovated it under my budget.
Yep.
And thus, the next 4 years, the union is foregoing that $2,500 stipend because we were able to do that for them ahead of time.
So, just brass tacks, so besides the 2% for 3 years, are there any new stipends, or,
There was the 2.5% for the professional standard stipend added for the impact bargaining of the tasers.
okay, that's the only one?
The tasers, and that's the only one. We, as I mentioned in the beginning, the cell phone stipend was removed from the contract, but we took that percentage and rolled it into the base.
Okay.
And then the education as well for non-Quinn members, and after 6 years of service.
Okay, I also have a committee member shown up, Councilor Joseph, and non-committee member, Councilor Boschman. Councilor Joseph, you had your hand up.
What's the total cost of the first year of this contract?
$200,000, sir.
So this right here is the total cost. Total cost.
For the first year of the contract is $200,000.
Okay. And with the Quinn bill, was that retroactive? Is there anybody that would qualify for retroactive? Because you said
Retroactive on Quinn?
yeah, for the newer officers. You said 6 years, 7 years.
No, that was something that I went to the mayor that I felt was important for the police department, was to get our new members back online with some type of educational incentive. That doesn't take effect for 6 years. We were able to negotiate that in a 6-year window, so there's nothing retroactive on that aspect. Once they reach the 6-year mark, then their educational incentive will take over at a much lesser rate than what we're paying for Quinn right now.
Okay, because there's something in there you said about 2010.
Yeah, so
Like
officers...
join the force.
Right.
Starting in 2010, all officers hired after 2010 did not receive any educational incentive. So what happened between 2010 and the present time, we had a split department. We had a majority of our membership that was getting Quinn bill, and then we had our new hires that were getting no educational incentive whatsoever,
Right.
Which started to pose a detriment to the department because we started hiring people, and we just had a police officer leaving this past year to go to another agency that had educational incentive. So we, myself and the mayor's office felt it was important that we try to get some type of educational language back into our contract, and this is what we've come
No,
up
it's
with.
just it's not even a concern. It's just, you said it was somebody who's been here for 6 years.
Correct.
So it goes back to people that have joined since 2010. So that would leave a 2016-17 gap. But that's why I was wondering if it was retroactive for the people that started in 2010 who are now would be receiving it for last year and this year.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I believe after speaking with Robin, there's only two police officers that it would affect, and I think it would only affect, and it would be effective by the signing of this contract. So then they will be able to receive that benefit.
Thank you.
Councilor Boschman? Council, I might remind you that you're not on the committee, so you cannot state definitively how you're going to vote on this.
All right, I understand that, sir. Thank you very much for reminding me. I appreciate that.
Yep.
AJ, the chief.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. I thought I heard you say special details.
Yes, sir.
And I got one question on the special detail. When they go on special details, like on River Street or Electric Avenue, is the city liable for workman's comp and insurance if somebody gets hurt?
That's your...
That's not mentioned in the contract. That you're talking extra pay details?
Yeah.
Is that?
The extra paid details is for when it's city performing the work.
Yes,
In the 4
yes.
hour minimum.
The bottom line is yes. If they're providing a service in the city of Fitchburg and they're injured while providing that service, 111F will jump into effect.
So they would come back to our insurance, fall back onto our insurance
They're working in the city of Fitchburg, yes.
on the special. And the only reason why I'm asking this question, I just came back from the Cape, and down the Cape, they had special detail people, and they call them flag people, and they weren't officers; they were just regular flag people. Are we Are we making the rules for them, or can we just hire regular people to do detail to block the traffic and stop?
Motion to approve 14317.
No, I just wanted to know,
It's not
Council Joe.
relevant to the contract, so the
I'd
I'd be
Oh,
happy
it's
to.
on the contract. All right,
If you
never
want to
mind.
call me privately, I'd be happy to answer those questions.
All right, all right.
Sorry, I was talking to the auditor. There was a motion on the table to accept 14317. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept 14317. Speaking on the motion, Councilor Beazall.
I just have one question concerning education. You've done a fantastic job promoting from within. Is that the lack of education, does it not allow our officers to have that chance to get promoted within the department, or is that a separate?
That's something separate.
Okay.
Everybody has the equal opportunity to take promotional exams. We saw the benefits of educational incentive in providing a much better educated police officer on the street and the way they react and their judgments and how they handle themselves. When the city did away with funding the Quinn bill, we saw we were still getting extremely well-qualified candidates. Most of them were returning vets and, like I said, exceptional candidates. But what we're finding out now is we're having police officers that could go to our next town over, say Ashburnham or Westminster, and make 20% more doing the same job. So that's why we felt it was necessary to get some type of language back in the contract.
All right, thank you. I just didn't want anybody not to have the opportunity to be promoted within the force, that's all. So, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Joseph.
I just want to thank both sides for, I'm sure, hard work and patience to getting to this point. So it's not always easy. Been there, done that in the school department, not on this side, but thank you for both sides for getting to this point for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
How many people does this 200,000 cover?
57.
77.
Yes.
We're 78, including me. It covers everybody but myself.
But you,
But me.
Chief?
Correct.
77, you said? So I just did a quick calculation, and it's an average calculation. The $200,000 for just 1 year, over 77 people on average, is $216.66 of an increase per month before tax. So, just so the public knows, this is not lucrative by any stretch of the imagination. And I know a lot of people who get far more than 2%, especially a lot of people who get more than 2% who don't put their lives on the line for the rest of us. So it's a testament to both sides, as Councilor Joseph said, and while there may be some who disagree with some of the ins and outs of the contract, I myself am never against giving a cost of living adjustment, but 2%, as far as I'm concerned, what a lot of unions get is paltry, and especially for this department. So I myself will support this. 2% is not enough, but it's what both sides agreed to, given our financial constraints. Motion made and seconded to approve 14317. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you, councilors.
Next, we will take out of order the following three petitions that Chief Martineau will speak on: 10517, 12417, and 12617. We'll start with 10517. Order that the City of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of funds from the U.S. Department of Justice Edward J. Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program, JAG, administered by the Commonwealth's Executive Office of Public Safety and Security in the approximate amount of $49,881.15 for the purpose of said grant. Chief.
Thank you, Counselor. This is an extremely competitive grant that the Police Department applied for several months ago. The grant was designed to assist gateway cities throughout the Commonwealth to battle the heroin and opiate epidemic that's plaguing our state. And the Police Department was able to put together a extremely well-written grant application, and we were very fortunate to have been awarded $49,881. Our intent with this funding is there's three different avenues that we're going after on this funding. The first and foremost, the obvious one, is to increase our efforts in the battle against heroin and opiates. We're going to be using approximately $32,000 of this grant to provide extra support out there on the front lines of dealing with drug interdiction work. This is going to be street-level drug interdiction work. Not so much the work that our drug unit's doing now, but more of the, for lack of better terms, the low-lying fruit in the city, and really hitting it from the street-level part of it. That's going to be able to provide 200 4-hour mobilizations. So we're going to be able to put out roughly, 4-hour blocks 200 times this next year, in addition to our regular patrol division. So it's going to give an extreme boost to the battle that we're in the midst of dealing with the heroin and the opiate epidemic. In addition to the $32,000 that will go towards those efforts, we were fortunate enough where they allowed us to purchase some equipment, much needed equipment. We've been replacing our portable radios that the police officers use. And this is allowing us to add 6 more brand-new portable radios at the cost of roughly $14,000. So we've been, anytime we can get a grant and try to put some equipment into it, we've been slowly replacing the radios at the police department. So we're excited that we had that opportunity. And the last part of it, we thought it was important to continue with the training efforts in the police department. It's going to allow us to have roughly $4,000 to send younger officers to drug interdiction schools. A lot of those schools are put on by the DEA and some of our federal partners. It's going to teach them basically street-level narcotic investigations. So, like I said, this was a competitive grant. It was put out there to assist gateway cities like the city of Fitchburg, and we're very fortunate that the grant was accepted by EOPS. Any questions on the grant?
Councilor Joseph.
I just hope with the 32,000 or whatever at the street level that there's somebody that gets caught and has a good wake-up call, it's got to be that wake-up call somewhere along the line that they're that far down or not quite that far down, or something wakes them up, and hopefully that with some compassion you guys will be able to help that process of stopping it where it starts.
I'm glad you brought that up, Counselor. This is street-level stuff. This is we're talking about users here. I've said it publicly in the past. We're not arresting our way out of this heroin epidemic. So this is going to give us an opportunity to do much more than just arrest people, but get into people's life and see if working with our advocate Kate Duffy and just trying to do some other things than just arresting people. This is going to provide us the opportunity to put those extra patrols out there that we just can't fund on our operating budget.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 10517. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. We'll skip over to 12417. In order that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the Pedestrian Safety Grant awarded by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, Office of Grants and Research, Highway Safety Division, in the approximate amount of $3,061.28. Chief.
Thank you. The next two items on the agenda are both awards out of, as the council said, out of EOPS. These are traditional grants that we've been lucky to get over the last, 5 to 10 years. Unfortunately, this year, we've seen a 50% reduction in the money that's coming out. So on this line item last year, you would have saw $6,000, and it's been cut back to $3,000. Under this grant, the funds will be used for both enforcement and educational activities. For example, next month, our officers will give it's going on now, but we're doing social host policies for all parents and high school seniors who are anticipating graduation. We're trying to educate the children on the dangers of drinking. We're doing this with our school resource officers. Enforcement in this upcoming summer, we do tactics such as called cops in shops, operation compliance checks at our liquor establishments. We go throughout the city and we check on the package stores and make sure they're adhering to local liquor ordinances. These are done to prevent underage youths from procuring and transporting alcohol beverages. Funds would also be used mid to late summer to conduct surveillance patrols in the college area. This money we use at the beginning of the college season to get up there and try to send a message that, open liquor violations, drunkenness, we won't tolerate that. So this is funding that we use to supplement our fall time up at the university. But everything under this grant goes towards alcohol education, and we try to combine education with enforcement, and just instead of all strictly enforcement. But once again, it's these funds that we use outside of our operating budget, and it enables the police department to do a lot more for our city.
Motion to approve 124-17.
Second. Motion made and seconded to approve 124-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Last, with the chief, is 126-17, an order that the city of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the Mass Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, Office of Grants and Research, Highway Safety Division, in the approximate amount of $4,950.63 for the purpose of said grant.
Similar to the one I just spoke of, funds for this grant will be used for enforcement and educational activities as well. Some of the enforcement strategies under this grant include pedestrian decoy operations to detect, to deter, and apprehend violators in various parts of the city. We did several operations last year in the downtown area trying to educate folks on crosswalk violations, stuff of that nature. The department will deploy decoy operations around high-density areas, walking areas up in the college. We try to get up in the college in some of the busier intersections. We go out in marked units. We go out in unmarked patrols during high peak times. We've been doing pedestrian and bike safety. This summer, we're going to go back down on Main Street. We're all aware of the different violations that continue to happen down there. It's these types of resources that allow the police department to do much more than just through our regular operating budget, and it's through these types of aggressive grant writings that we're able to provide that level of service to the city.
Council Donnelly.
Thank you. It's been frustrating over a few years to watch. It seems like the drivers are always responsible. Pedestrians in some areas of the city, it's frustrating driving when they're walking down the middle of the road, double on the side of the road, and the sidewalk's vacant. Is that part of either one of these grants to educate some of the pedestrians? It was frustrating a few years ago to watch some of the people getting tickets on Main Street when there was some setups there. And I understand education for drivers, but there's a lot of pedestrians need a lot of education here in particular areas.
I agree. It goes
So
both
that's-
ways, Councilor.
That's the part that's frustrating for me. So
I agree. It does go both ways, and that's our goal, to educate both pedestrians and motorists. We're very fortunate at the police department to have an established traffic bureau this year under the guidance of a supervisor, so we're able to provide direct relief on issues like this, and this type of funding goes a long way within the police department, where we're not attacking our operating overtime budget. So once again, it's aggressive grant writing. It's looking for every penny that we can bring back to the city of Fitchburg. A lot of credit goes to Christy Fisher, who is our crime analyst, grant writer, jack of all trades. She's the one that provides these grants, and her exceptional writing skills is what's bringing the money to the city.
make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion made and seconded to approve 126-17. Councilor Joseph.
Just during the budget cycle, can we get a listing of the grants that are brought in to police, fire, and the totals?
It's listed in my end-of-year report. I purposely did that this year just to highlight exactly what we're bringing into the city, because it's a considerable amount of money. It's listed in our annual report, every grant that we're awarded and the dollar funds to it.
Okay, thank you.
Motion made and seconded to approve 126-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you for your support as always.
Next, we'll start with 10617, order that pursuant to the Municipal Modernization Act effective November 7th, 2016, the City of Fitchburg hereby accepts General Laws, Chapter 40, Sections 22A-22C, which establishes a receipts reserved for appropriation special revenue fund to reserve parking meter or lot revenues for appropriation for parking and traffic regulation activities.
If I may, I'll speak to that. In the past, the funds for parking meter fees used to go into a receipts reserved account and then were appropriated annually in the budget. The Municipal Modernization Act changed the rules so that the parking meter receipts would go directly to the general fund unless municipality accepted this statute. And so the request, I guess, is to accept this statute to continue to do business the way we've been doing, where the parking meter fees go into a receipts reserved account, which is then used to appropriate for the budget.
Councilor Joseph.
If I get the gist of this, it's just another way of keeping our parking garages together, because if that money goes into the general fund, we'll never see it again. Nothing personal, it's just people like to spend that money real quick. So if it's designated for parking and designated to fix up the garages and plow it and all that other stuff, I think that we'll have better municipal garages and parking, so I'm in favor of it.
Motion to accept 106-17.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt 106-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. 107-17, order that the City of Fitchburg accepts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F and a 3 1/4, which establishes a special revenue fund as the PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund to reserve cable franchise fees and other cable-related revenues for appropriation to support PEG access services and oversight and renewal of the cable franchise agreement. The fund to begin operation for fiscal year 2018, which begins on July 1st, 2017, and pursuant thereto effective July 1st, 2017, the city hereby transfers to the PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund the remaining balance in the cable gift account in the approximate amount of $100,743.88, thereby closing the cable gift account. Mr. Brooks.
Yes, on this one, in the past, the city's been using a gift account, so the money goes into the gift account, and then it's spent by, I believe, the IT department as they see fit. Department of Revenue has recommended that we not do it that way, so we would need to accept this statute or to create the fund. It would be similar to the parking meter fees reserve fund, except this is for PEG access, and then it would be subject to appropriation by the council normally at the annual budget time.
Make a motion to adopt 107-17.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt 107-17. Councilor Joseph.
Do we have a cable oversight committee for the city, or is that just for?
I think years ago.
Okay, so we don't have that anymore.
I don't believe so.
I believe it's the FATV
Board of Directors.
Board of Directors, along with the, I believe FATV hires an attorney each year to negotiate this. Well, I mean, I think he's been the attorney for a number of years, actually.
Yep.
All right.
My I guess the question or where I'm going is, why don't we have a group of people that are interested in going forward with the city in this area in charge of deciding where these funds should be spent, so that we can have cable on Main Street, or some of the things, cable at the airport, some of the things that we say that we really need that we don't have. I mean, if there was somebody that was looking forward for the city, I just think there would be an oversight committee that would look at, like the capital investment committee, that would look at something like this for our IT.
Actually, Councilor, that falls with the mayor.
Yeah.
I really determine whether or not, how I want to release those funds.
Right.
It's really falls on me. So I had the same conversation with my staff as well. FATV, we believe, does an outstanding job, and I think you probably would agree with that. But you're right. Things like extending cable on Main Street, high-speed fiber, and also Airport Road. I haven't had the opportunity, but I plan on meeting with the FATV folks and talking about partnering in some way that we can make those things happen, and still keep FATV the outstanding product that it produces every year. So we want to make sure we're not harming that in any way.
Motion to approve 10717.
Motion made and seconded to approve 10717. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. 11317, in order that the City of Fitchburg hereby amends the city's general ordinances by adding a new section to establish and authorize revolving funds for use by certain city departments, boards, committees, agencies, or officers under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E, 1/2. First reading was done on May 2nd, 2017.
Thank you. I guess I would say in the past, the city council has annually authorized revolving funds and the amounts to be spent in the coming year. The Municipal Modernization Act changed that process, which is why this ordinance is before you. The Municipal Modernization Act said that the city must authorize revolving funds by ordinance rather than by an annual vote. And the city council would still be voting annually on the amount that can be spent from each revolving fund. So basically, the votes that have been taken in the past on an annual basis to authorize the establishments of these revolving funds is codified in the city code by the ordinances, and then annually the council would vote on the amounts that could be spent from them.
Councilor Joseph.
So we're not authorizing any new revolving accounts?
Correct. This is just codifying the revolving funds that have historically been authorized each year by the council.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 113-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. We'll move to 125-17, in order that the City of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of funds from the Massachusetts Department of Transportation's Municipal Small Bridge Program in the approximate amount of $130,000 for the purpose of said grant. Commissioner Laxo. And, I'm sorry.
Oh, hi, council members. My name is Nelson Moy. I'm the business manager for the DPW.
Okay, thank you.
It's the Ashburnham Street Bridge. It's just beyond Stickney Road. It's a short bridge, only about 10 feet long. It's in need of repair. One whole side of it along the guardrail has disintegrated. Needs to be repaired, but we never had the funds to do it because bridges less than 20 feet in span are not eligible for federal aid, so there was no state program to cover it. So the state decided to appropriate its own funds to create a small bridge program. Just started this past year, and I have to thank Nelson for getting us this grant and doing a good job writing the application, and he can talk about it a little more.
So this is the small bridge grant program. That's a new program that Governor Baker instituted. It's a 5-year program, and it's currently funded for $50 million. We were fortunate enough to be one of the first cities to actually get approved for this grant program. The first round of grant funding saw 36 projects totaling $16 million being approved throughout the state. And we submitted our application for the Ashburnham Street Bridge, and we estimated it would cost $130,000 to rehab.
Councilor Joseph.
Is there any city match?
Let me try to think. I don't think there was a match requirement.
Okay.
So it's
And is there any other Do you plan on applying to another round for any particular bridges that, is there anything else in the near future for this one?
Actually, there's a couple bridges that are currently not on the state inventory list. So we're working with MassDOT to get it on the inventory list so that it's eligible for the next round of grant funding. So once that's in place, we will reevaluate if those bridges need to be rehabbed. And if that's the case, we will go for the next round of grant funding.
Don't take this sarcastically, but you earned your money for this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what we're going for.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion made and seconded to approve 125-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Commissioner, are you talking at all to 156-17? About cemetery?
Yes.
Councilors don't have any objections, I'll just skip to the last petition. 156-17, a petition, Jacqueline Poirier, Cemetery Superintendent, to amend Chapter 44, Section 10 of the Code of the City of Fitchburg by inserting, quote, effective 5/1/17, Park Cemetery temporary seasonal laborer, $13.
Make a motion to approve 156-17.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 156-17. Speaking on that motion, the temporary laborers, that's the summer help, correct? For the
Yes,
most
in
part?
parks and cemeteries.
And can you just quickly state why the increase from, I think it was $10, now it's 13?
For many years, we were paying our temporary help $10.50 per hour. It used to be considerably above the minimum wage, but the minimum wage gradually caught up with it and passed it, so we had to raise it to $11 last year. So now we're at the minimum, but we haven't been able to fill all of our positions this summer. It's a lot easier to get $11 per hour doing something that doesn't involve physical labor, so we're hoping by bumping it up to 13 we can attract some people.
As a former summer help for 3 summers in the cemetery, that is sometimes grueling work in the heat. So $13 an hour is not a lot of money for the amount of work that they do. But I'm surprised that you guys have difficulty finding young people to do those jobs, because it's not a bad summer job to have.
No.
Hopefully this will entice more participation. Motion made and seconded to approve 156-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to 127-17, in order that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the Mass Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, Department of Energy Resources, 2016 Green Community Designation Grant in the approximate amount of $306,265 for the purpose of said grant. Mr. Torigny.
Good evening, councilors. This is just memorializing the receiving the funds and expending them. The Green Community application was brought before you to meet the criteria 1 through 5, and this is now implementing that. We'll be doing about 8 projects or so between the school department and our DPW crew. With our school department, we'll be upgrading our HVAC systems and lighting, as well as doing a steam trap survey to which will help. That survey will help us identify other issues within the air ventilation systems in Longsjo, so that with the next round of grant funding, we can apply for that. Within our DPW department, we'll be adjusting our Main Street decorative lights to LED. We'll be putting a new infrared heater system, building winterization, and motors and hot water pumps in their mechanicals at the yard. So the total project cost is roughly $300,000, and I would be remiss to not mention Kelly Brown with Mass DOER, and then certainly MRPC for their help, and as well as the department heads. This was a lengthy application process, which was quite frustrating at some point. So we are looking. The application was submitted last Tuesday to the state, and they'll be approving us within the near future.
Councilor Joseph.
Sorry I raised the hand so many times today. Is this, just to refresh, so in accepting this money, we also accept different building codes or a different building code philosophy
Part of the criteria we had to adopt the stretch code, which we your honorable body did. I can't remember 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And what the stretch code does is with new construction, it requires builders to go one more step above the minimum requirements of the building code to ensure that energy efficient measures are taken for new construction.
So we've implemented everything we needed to do in order to
That's
qualify.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Motion to approve 12717.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 12717. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you, councilors.
12817, that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $300,000 to be charged against available funds and credited to stabilization fund. Really,
Motion to approve.
Second.
a motion made and seconded to approve 12817. Speaking on the motion, just a quick question. Do we have any idea what this will bring that account to?
Yes, sir. The current balance of the account is about $5,490,000. So 300,000 would make it $5,790,000.
Percentage of our budget.
Just
Hold on.
under 5.
4%. Oh, no,
Well, no, I got 4.9%.
4.9, right,
Yep.
you're right, 4.9.
4.9.
Thank you.
Motion made and seconded to approve 12817. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. 12917, that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $300,000 to be charged against available funds and credited to community development demolition for the purpose of demolishing various buildings within the city of Fitchburg. Mayor, do you want to speak to this?
Oh, sure.
I see Liz is here. Liz, do you mind coming up, please, too?
Didn't see anyone sneak in.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, you'll forgive me, councilors, but I thought it was kind of obvious what we're doing here. Oh, okay, all right. Go ahead, Liz.
It's the public consumption.
Yeah.
Council Donald.
Not to step before you, but 20 years ago, I'm talking about we need demolition in the poorest neighborhoods. The people think it's taking a tax base away, but in fact, it's every one of those buildings with one child in costs us money, and usually there's multiple children with multiple problems, and that's when part of our zoning. I was pushing for the demolition, but we also hoped that maybe a 3-family might be replaced with a single-family owner-occupied in some of these neighborhoods, and some of that has come to fruition. So, I mean, I'm an adamant supporter of demolishing as many decrepit multifamilies. Councilor Boschman gets upset because he wants to save some, but not the decrepit ones.
Council Joseph.
With the other funding, what does that bring our demolition to for?
2 million. 1.2 million. We've had 900,000.
600
Sorry, I'm not quite sure. 600,000 is what we're looking at for this coming
for this round.
CDBG, and this.
CDBG and these funds. It's
Okay.
just under 600,000, I believe.
Yeah.
And when do we proceed, when do we foresee doing work?
Well, we're about to embark on the next round as we're finishing up the current round, which is round 31. So round 32 will start with the new building commissioner coming aboard. We'll be going out to do the site survey where we identify the most likely candidates for demolition. We will that will begin the beginning of the process, and of course we'll have to wait for the CDBG funds to be appropriated, which that may come a little later this year because of the timing of the CDBG funding coming from HUD. Looks like it's going to be later,
Okay.
but I would hope that will be ready in the fall. there's a number of activities that have to happen, including some environmental review when the CDBG funds are used, as well as asbestos and other environmental hazard testing.
Okay. So fall, we should see some visual.
Well,
That would be the
Goal.
Yes.
Counselor, I'm hoping that we see movement in that direction sooner. We started, it's a process.
Oh, I know.
It's onerous, and the chief obstacle is the environmentals that we have to go through before we can start demolishing these buildings. You got to clean them up first. And but we could move forward with the appropriation of available funds. This is CDBG money, so we're going to we'll start making, and the dollar is going to be stretched further than it was in the last round because we did some significantly large buildings that cost a lot more money. Now we're moving into the neighborhoods, and we're going to reclaim some of those properties, open them up, reduce some of that density, but also add it into our side lot sale program and get people to enjoy their property a little bit better. So I think we're going to start with some of the buildings that we own.
Correct.
That we've taken in tax title. Great work by Calvin and Liz and the community development folks. So $300,000 is going to go a long way, and then another $300 on top of that, we'll be in good shape.
So I said 1.2 million. That was including the prior year.
Last year,
Well, this current year that's about to end.
Right.
I think it was like 900,000+. Then this 600 would make it like 1.5 in 2 years. Okay.
It's certainly more than we've had in quite a number of years.
Do we know how many properties approximately this 600,000 will get us in the residential areas?
I believe it'll be between 12 and 15. We may estimate a few more just in case we get better pricing. It's always good to add in a couple extra and then have them as alternates that we don't move forward with. So
Okay.
we want to maximize our dollars.
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up, Liz. We had a pleasant surprise with the individual that was awarded the contract this year. They came in several $100,000 under what we thought. So we're hoping for the same this year as well, and so that'll get us more buildings. And we're looking for. I'm looking forward to it anyway. Thank you,
Council Bezol.
Thank you. First of all, I've heard from people that it's great to see that we're cleaning up a lot of these buildings in these areas. And secondly, it's great to see focusing on some of the buildings that I know the police and the fire department are always going to these buildings. People, no matter how much you board them up, they're getting in there. They're disturbing neighborhoods. It's just good to see that we're doing this to make sure that the manpower on the police and the fire and even the city, DPW and Board of Health, they're going to other uses than to just constantly going back to the same houses. So thank you, greatly appreciated.
You're welcome.
Council Donnelly.
I just want to, thank you. I want to compliment the mayor for not only recognizing the value of the demolition, but actually doing something about it. He's done it very aggressively, and it's been 20 years that I've been looking forward to something like this, and it's actually beginning. And you put some pressure and got some cooperation for the redevelopment authority. So we are seeing progress. Thank you.
Motion made.
And seconded.
Was there a motion made? I'm sorry. I thought there was.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 12917. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
You're welcome.
13017, in order that there being hereby is appropriated the sum of $60,000 to be charged against available funds and credited to Department of Public Works Snow and Ice Personal Services overtime, $30,000, and Department of Public Works Snow and Ice expenses, $30,000. Council Joseph.
Chairman, can I recommend that we take a break? This is probably the longest agenda we've had in about 2 years.
Would you like a break? Oh, you're just kidding. Okay. Well, we did miss a meeting 2 weeks ago. So I assume. Well, no, we did. We couldn't. Didn't. Wasn't a good time 2 weeks ago. That's all. I assume this 60,000 is to close this out for the year and wipe our forehead?
That's right.
Okay, so what is the total damage that Mother Nature wreaked upon us this year?
1,309,000.
That's on the high end, right?
Yes.
Yep. I think last year it was 600,000.
Right.
So there you go.
Before that.
Okay.
1.5.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 130-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. 131-17, there hereby is appropriated the sum of $10,000 to be charged against available funds and credited to building expenses, City Hall relocation, for the purpose of relocating the community development offices from the library to Boulder Drive office space.
Thank you, councilors. This is a move that I have been seeking for some time. It's been 5 plus years, I believe, that they've been in the basement of the library. It's become somewhat taxing for the people that work in the library. It's also not appropriate for a city of our size to be bringing prospective developers, contractors, homeowners into the basement of the library to carry out business. This will provide us, while we're working toward a new city hall, to bring everyone under one roof. The 10,000 would be used, is being used for build-out. Had internet access. We had the sheriff's department was gracious enough. We reached out, contacted them. They painted the office space. I think they finished last week. And so we're ready to go. We're ready to move. Once, of course, you have to approve this, and that will happen at the next city council meeting. But I think it's appropriate that we finally get these folks into what would be considered a true office space that will be able to carry out the appropriate level of business for the city of Fitchburg. So,
Does the lease in the FY18 budget proposal reflect this extra space?
yes.
Yes.
This will not take effect till July 1. The department will be in there before July 1, but the redevelopment authority with Dan Curley has been more than gracious in letting us have that space until July 1, at which time we'll be paying what could change, won't go up, but it could change, $10 a square foot. It's a 2,000 square foot space, so that's an additional $20,000. We're now paying $216,000 for what space we're in right now. Now, I have to remind councilors that we're also paying for what we refer to as the warehouse space in between these two offices. We weren't paying for that in the past because there was an understanding with the prior administration that they would build out that space, and that was never acted on. So with this additional space would be another $29,000, would bring us to $246,000, $285,65. We budgeted $50,000 for utilities. We believe that's a conservative number.
Councilor Joseph?
Will this be built out similar to the layout that we currently have? Are they going to have cubicles and?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's going
they
to
will.
look professional.
Yes,
It's going to be.
exactly. Yep.
Okay.
And our economic development person will be there. Everyone's in the same space. It will be much more appropriate to be bringing people in there. So, we're putting our best foot forward as a city with this new space. I know that the community development people, most of them are looking forward to it. Maybe a few that aren't, but I think it's the move itself. By the way, the move will be carried out by the sheriff's office as well. They're going to expend some of their help moving some of the file cabinets, desks, so forth from the basement of the library. And Liz Murphy is going to ramrod that whole process. Right. Okay.
Long overdue.
Yes.
Make a motion to adopt 131-17.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt 131-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. 132-17, order that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $18,000 to be charged against available funds and credited to library building maintenance for the purpose of replacing a medium voltage switch and related electrical work at the library.
I can speak to this as well, councilors. This was a shorted out. This is, if you can visualize the grates along the side of the library and in the front, the grate on the side street. What's the name of that side street? I can't remember. Newton. Thank you. There's a electrical array down and underneath there that shorted out, and it actually affected not just the library, but some of the buildings on Main Street, and went as far as into Hartwell, I think. Some of those buildings were shorted out. So this is a situation that we really had very little choice in repairing. So we met with Unitil. We were anticipating a more costly price tag on that, so we were happy when it came in at 18. But it's not something that we can neglect. So I think it's very important we get this done, because if it happens again, I'm told by the Unitil folks and some of the outfit that's going to be putting this in, if it shorts out again like that, they may not be able to repair it. So it would cost at least that amount.
Make a motion to approve 132-17.
Motion made and seconded to approve 132-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. 133-17, order that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $65,000 to be charged against available funds and credited to Council on Aging building maintenance for the purpose of improving the air quality in the basement of the senior center.
Councilors, I was approached by the Council on Aging and Joan Goodwin regarding this situation that has existed for longer than I'd like to admit. And it's one more capital expenditure that's long overdue. This is a situation in the building. If you go into the senior center, you can detect the odor of the dampness. So there's a health issue with that. So we're going to address that. And again, I believe it's been in this state for a number of years. So it's long overdue, and I think it's money well spent.
Councilor Joseph.
So is this gonna address the entire basement, or is this going to address the inhabited space, like the bocce space, the space that the seniors are using?
Yeah.
Or is this like the showers? I mean, there's just so much down there that's not usable.
Yeah, I'm told by the architect that this is going to take care of the entire basement. So sometimes when you're at the top of the stairs, Counselor, you can smell.
Right, but there's just so much. I mean, there's showers that the troops use.
Well, it's a significant amount of money, $65,000 for what they're going to do. So, the plan is for it to take care of the whole basement. So,
is this going to identify, or is this going to remedy?
No, it's going to remedy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilor Boschman.
Mayor, you're telling me that they're going to fix the water from leaking in, that's coming through the walls?
I believe that's part of this, yeah. I mean, they're attacking this problem because of the dampness. So they're telling me that's going to be addressed and repaired. It better be for $65,000. So
Make a motion to approve it.
make sure of
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 133-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. And finally, 134-17, order that there be and hereby is transferred the sum from within the sum of $18,000 to be transferred to Water Division Personal Services Overtime and from Water Division Watershed Maintenance. Mr. DeLine.
Good evening, councilors, Mayor, Calvin. I'm looking to transfer this amount from Watershed Maintenance to our overtime budget. Over the winter months, we had some higher than usual overtime due to snow plowing. Also, we had a large number of hydrants hit during the winter months that started us with a heavy hit on our overtime. We were doing all right until the spring when we actually, in the last few weeks, we had a break in the bridge on Water Street over the Nashua River. It's a 16-inch main, and in order to minimize the impact to businesses and also residences in the area, but particular businesses, we had to do some work in the overnight hours, a couple nights, which required quite a bit of overtime, trying to replace valves in order to get the water under control. We were able to achieve that, but again, it required quite a few overtime hours. In addition to that, we also had a break down at the wastewater treatment plant, the East Plant, at a river crossing there that required quite a bit of overtime too that wasn't expected. Then the last thing we also been doing flushing. We'd like to do some more at night to minimize impact of businesses. There's a couple of facilities that rely on a consistent water quality, and flushing overnight will allow them to maintain their production schedule and allow us to get our hydrants flushed at the same time.
Make a motion to adopt 134-17.
Motion made and seconded to approve 134-17. Speaking on the motion, Counsel Joseph.
Where is that account right now? Are you in a deficit already?
Not quite. I think after the overtime this week, probably about 15 to 18,000 left in it. So this will allow me to get through to the end of the year.
Thank you for coming to us for the first time before the money was spent. I appreciate it. That's a first in about 5 years.
It's basic, but it never happens.
You're very welcome. We've been watching it very closely, Missy and I, and like I said, these last couple things, I thought we were going to make it, but the last couple things pushed us over, and I figured since I was coming for the overtime, just to, like I said, to be able to flush a couple streets in the overnight hours and minimize impact to businesses, I think that would be, a good thing.
Motion made and seconded to approve 134-17. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Move to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.